I'd like to call the order. Today's October 1st, 2018 Common Council meeting. Can the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Anane, Mr. Players, Mr. Ballerin, Mr. Conti, Mr. O'Shea. Okay. Ms. Fahey, Ms. Farrell, Mr. Flynn, Mr. Hoey. Here. Mr. Igo, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Kimbrough, Ms. Love, Mr. O'Brien.
Here.
Mr. Robinson. It's 14 present.
Thank you. And would you please stand with me? Thank you. Now we'll move on to our public comment period. Each person has 5 minutes to speak on any subject that they choose to speak on. Can the speaker please give their name and their address? And also, at this time, no council members can comment on anything the speaker has to say. If council members choose at the end of the meeting to comment on what was said during public comment, that is their right to do so. So with that being said, can the clerk please call this first speaker?
Aaron Carter.
Yes, my name is Aaron Carter. I'm a resident here, Albany, New York, 45 Central Avenue. I'm one of the representatives of the LOC, Local Organizing Committee, Justice or Else, also president of Ujima Journey. And I've been here years ago in regards to speaking the issue on Elazar Williams in regards to the shooting in the back. And I was just discussing with someone just now before getting here that if we had the cell phones and technology back then, Keith Ballou being shot in the back in the 70s by policemen, and Jesse Davis said that he had he had a gun and a knife in the hand, and 10 years later, they found through pictures hidden away, leaked out, that he had a toy truck. Now, with the technology today, with the shooting of Brother Elazar Williams, film showed that he was shot in the back, but how it was presented to the public by the police was that they found that it was justified shooting, but being shown later from our group that he was shot in the back. No reason to be shot in the back. And we need positions taken to find out which side people are on, representatives of the public, black people in particular, 400 years of certainly wrongfulness being treated and has not changed. Just the weapons got a little bit more deadly. I think it is necessary for black people in particular, people in general, to stand up for that which is right. Stand up, if no matter how long it takes, to raise the contradictions and to reveal the hideousness of the racism and this oppression that people go through, especially black folks. I would hope that some time will go by that y'all in this position of authority and representation will speak out, even if it's just one. Even if it's just one. Investigation and exposure is key. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Can the clerk please call the next speaker?
Marquin Jennings.
Marquin Jennings, 12 Grandview Terrace, Apartment 1, Albany, New York, 12202. I am the chairman of Local Organizing Committee Justice Else. I'm here for the same reason of Brother Alizar Williams. Before I speak for Justice Else, I'd like to read our mission statement so that people know why or who I represent and why I'm here. To politicize black people from a new African-centered perspective, the LOC of Albany is a revolutionary organization serving the needs of African diaspora by promoting unity, education, economic wealth, and sustainability. By reestablishing our culture of self-love, self-reliance, justice, and nation-building, the LOC works towards a better future for people of African descent. We believe in seeking justice in the current judicial system that in its past and present has been detrimental to our people. If those goals are not attainable, we believe in separating economically, socially, and educationally. I'm here really simply because, like Brother Aaron had just mentioned, that Brother Alizar Williams has been shot in the back. And Justice Else has been on this case for a little while now. I'm sure you all are aware of it. It's been in the news. It's been in the paper. Unfortunately, the young man is not from here, so has not garnered the attention from the community, the people that we wanted to garner attention to, as if it did not involve them. Most of our people have 19-year-olds in their homes. Most of our people know a few 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds. Unfortunately, because of a lack of particular education, they don't understand how pertinent it is to be following this case. So now we've decided to up the ante in regards to our movement for Alizar. If you all don't know, he is currently paralyzed from the waist down. I believe the story said that the bullet is still in his back. Who knows will that ever be removed? There's a lot of people who have been in particular battles, whether it be war or just street life or whatever have you, that still have bullets and whatnot in their bodies. They can't be removed because they're in a particular spot. This is the case that's going on with him right now. This is very, very serious. He's reusing catheters, and anybody who's familiar with disease control and things of that nature, it is very dangerous. This is life-threatening. Right now, we're after the officer, James Olson, who shot him in the back. We have gotten word that he has been in this community, and that's just poor protocol, whether he was on leave or not. He should not be feeling comfortable enough to come down here where he shot someone, whether it was a justified shooting or not, which they call it a justified shooting, but I think we proved that it was not. Right now, we are here to offer, I guess, what you call an olive branch, that we got word that certain people weren't invited to be involved in this entire thing, so now this is our invite. within the next few weeks, we'd like to schedule a private showing to particular common council members that are here that's been a part of this community for a long time that we know and look like us. Unfortunately, this is something we have to handle. And those days will get to you. And we'd love for you to come. Mr. President, Sister Joyce, congratulations, Sister Dorsey, and a couple others, to come and see what evidence we had. Even if you've seen it before, we want you to see it again with us. We would like to have a discussion, and that particular date will come very, very soon. And we hope that you show, and we'd like to know what you think after you've seen, because we'll just take it for granted that you didn't see it. And so we'll show it to you so that we're all there at the same time, so we can all verify each other. Afterwards, we'll have a discussion, and that discussion will stay with us. So again, I thank you for allowing me to come up here and speak. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Can the clerk please call the next speaker?
Thank you. When we pledged allegiance to the flag, we really asked for justice for all. And in our Constitution, we have freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and I just want to ask you if you can help us with
Ms.
the
Garrett, can you just
freedom-
state your address for the record, please?
What's that?
Can you state your address for the record?
Can I say my
Address for the record?
my address?
Yes.
It's 13 York Road, Albany, New York. Okay? Anything else? Okay, because I really like something that we have here. It's called PEG, P-E-G. The PEG Oversight Board controls public access, education, and government, 3 channels. And they were there at channels 16, 17, and 18. And there's no reason, there's so many channels out there right now, than there were, so many more than there were 20 and 30 years ago. There's no need to get rid of 16, 17, and 18. They did move them up to channel 18, or no, channel 1301, 1302, and 1303. But if you go to channel 15 right now on Spectrum or with Verizon, if you hit the up channel from 15, it jumps up to 19. There is no longer 16, 17, and 18. And they did that very similar with channel 6, 10, and 13. You can go to channel 1200, 1203, and 1209, but they're still there at channel 6, 10, and 13. They're still there. Well, why did our 3 channels, public access, education, and government, disappear when they were moved up to 1300s? So all I'm asking is if you can ask to keep those channels where they were. They can still be up there on 1300s, just like the 1200s for 6, 10, and 13. But there's no need, with all those extra channels out there, to make those disappear, because those 3 channels could be really helpful if you're ever getting brainwashed by mainstream media. Our channels can tell the truth, and so we really don't want to go in a bad direction. We'd like to really help us with our freedom of speech, freedom of the press, go in a good direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Can the clerk please call the next speaker?
John L. Joseph.
My name is Donnell Joseph, and good evening. I'm coming because I see
Mr.
Albany
Joseph, can you state your address for the record, please?
185 Kent Street.
Thank you, sir.
And I see a lot of the youngsters in our community falling victim to gang violence and getting their inspiration from cities such as Baltimore, Los Angeles, which has an extreme violent history. What I'm proposing is that we set up a youth council, that every ward member has a youth from their particular ward to represent that particular ward, so we can know what's going on with the youth. They know what's going on, and a lot of us don't. They know when it's tension in the streets, we don't. There's fights all the time at Albany High. There's fights here. Nobody know. Only time we know something is bad is when somebody gets killed. I've seen cities deteriorate like this so much. And about Elazar Williams, we know it was a bad shooting. And for Albany to be a great city, it must act on its principles of humanity. All the good police and leadership connections with that, it's okay. But if you allow this police to get away with shooting that man in the back, it means nothing. He, the police officer, Olson, the detective, he's not a good person. I would say that because he's putting his department, which has a good report, with the community. If he was a righteous man, he would step down. But we need to look at our youth. We got all these great universities in Albany, but why aren't our youth going into these universities? Why every time in our communities that we see people owning the stores coming from the Mid-East, we don't own nothing. But yet and still we represent these communities, die and fight for these communities, and we don't own nothing. I've seen it happen. I'm from South Central Los Angeles, and I'm one of the original members of the Blood Gang. I've spent many years in prison. I've seen it all, and I've did some of the things, and I'm not proud of it. And I just want to help. I don't want to condemn. I just want to help any way that I can help my community. And if there's any services, anything that I can help, please call me. I will give my honest opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Can the clerk please call the next speaker?
Charles Obar Robinson, 404 Livingston Avenue, lifelong resident, Albany County, Albany, New York. Born 2010 Brook Place, 1960. Born and raised in the projects in the South End. Yeah, that's where I was raised at. In the South End, in the projects. In the projects. Moved from the projects uptown. As a matter of fact, it was me being born in the projects made it possible for me being one of the very rare individuals that could walk in downtown Albany and uptown Albany. Not ride, walk. And nobody messed with me. Ain't too many brothers in this city can say that. That they could go in downtown and uptown. But there's a reason why. When I came here tonight, I really gave it some hard thought of what I was going to speak about. I was going to write it down, but I said, nah, I have too much in my head right now to write anything down. I want to see what I want to say myself. Well, what I'm going to say, my name is not Trayvon Martin. I don't want to scare y'all. With the hood, I may scare you, but as soon as I speak, I know I don't scare you because I'm very articulate. World domination. Does anybody know who's practicing that? Whose plan is that? Everybody love it when a plan come together. Our election. Another nationality did something to affect it. All kinds of cultures are surviving and prospering in America, except who? At our expense. We live in places where we don't own anything. The only people that own anything that's of African descent or call themselves an African American, because I am an African American. I was born here. I wasn't born in no, I'm an American. And I bleed this. I bleed this. I really bleed this. That's why you see me like you see me. I sometimes ask myself, what are you doing? I'm doing me. Because if I don't do this, no one else is going to do this. I see what's happening right now. We are being dominated. I'm not going to allow it to happen to me. I'm not. My family is the last black Americans that own anything in this city. You took a lot from us, too. What is it called? Appropriation? You came up with all kinds of excuses to take anything that we made from our hard labor. It's called sweat equity. Anything we accumulated because we sweat. And you came and took it. You came and took it. Well, anyway, while you was taking from us, there was other nationalities coming over here and talk about they own them. They own in America right now.
Mr. Robinson, you have 1 minute left.
They own in America right now. I want everybody in this room to understand America was built on black and white. We're connected at the hip, whether you like it or not. It's our turn now. What kind of legacy are we going to leave for our kids and our grandkids? Are we going to continue to perpetuate this separatism that's causing this country to be taken over by every other nationality that it's letting in? Everybody that come to Albany come with guns. They want to take stuff from us. Remember that anybody that's come here, they come in to take, appropriate things that other people already accumulate here, and they endured all the hard. Now it is about to get a little soft. You want to let people take? Listen, we in this together. We have the opportunity of a lifetime. I always believed I could change the world by myself, but I couldn't. The only way I could do it is with you. But together we can. Together we can do a whole lot. Thank you.
Mr. Robinson, no, thank you, sir. Can the clerk please call the next speaker?
Alana Klein, 29 Glenwood. I apologize ahead of time if I can't make it through this. This is deeply personal for me. As with just about anybody in this country, I'm following what's going on in Washington, D.C. with the Supreme Court nomination, the hearings. I believe Dr. Ford. And it happens every day in this country that sometimes men, but mostly women, get sexually harassed, intimidated, assaulted, raped, and the reason that it goes unreported is evident in the reactions that come out every single time someone steps forward, and especially with what's going on with Dr. Ford. I've seen clips of people that support the nomination of Justice Kavanaugh saying if they themselves or their daughters were groped, it's no big deal. I saw a clip today where someone said that he hoped that Justice Kavanaugh would get nominated, and it didn't matter to him if Kavanaugh was guilty or innocent, if he actually committed the sexual assault. And the reason this is so personal for me, I haven't been sexually assaulted, but ever since I came out as transgender, I don't get it treated like this every day, but I have been the victim of some sexual harassment. Catcalls are not welcomed, they're not necessary, they're not flattering. It's sexual violence, it's intimidation. A couple months ago, this summer, I was on my way to Crossgates on the bus, and I normally sit towards the front just for convenience. And because there were no seats available, I sat towards the back. There were a couple kids there who, one of them asked me if I was LGBT. When I said yes, he got up, moved away from me, and said to his friend, "This person's got AIDS." And he put his seat, or his foot, like across the aisle between the two seats, essentially blocking me in. I can tell you right then that I feared for my life. They didn't do anything, but when I got off the bus at Crossgates, which they were going to Crossgates as well, I strategically walked into a store, turned a corner, and immediately ducked into the store so they couldn't follow me, and alerted security. I don't know what happened with them, but I told security just because I didn't want anyone else to be intimidated by them like I was. I have cut diagonally through parking lots when I've felt like I was being followed. This one time, I got out of the parking lot, and I was kind of like on the top of this hill, and I saw this car, which was following me, circle the parking lot twice, looking for what vehicle I got into, and they eventually gave up. Another time,
Ms. Klein, you have 1 minute left.
thank you. Another time, this person honked to get my attention, and I ignored it, and I kept walking. And when I got to the street, I noticed them pass me going either direction 3 or 4 times, so I ducked into a store. When I first came out, I was more naive than I am now. Someone asked me for directions or something, and I didn't get a good look, thankfully, but I feel they were trying to expose themselves to me. And like I said, this sort of thing is perpetuated by rape culture. Rape is not caused by short skirts, by nudity, by women drinking too much. Rape is caused 100% of the time by rapists. Believe survivors, boycott the NRA, Black Lives Matter, Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Seeing there is no one else signed up for public comment, we'll deem public comment period closed at this time and proceed on with our agenda. Move to the approval of minutes. Mr. Conti.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the minutes, approval of the minutes for the September 6th and September 17 meetings.
Do you have a second? All those in favor? Minutes approved. Consideration of local laws.
And the local law on tonight's agenda is held.
Thank you very much. Any reports of standing committees? Ms. Doche.
I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that we have about 15 meetings scheduled with various department heads. This is for the Finance, Taxation, and Assessment Committee. We have a budget hearing scheduled for next October 15th, starting at 7 o'clock for the full council. And then another one, the first meeting in November, that is an opportunity for public comment. public comment is also allowed at the Finance Taxation Assessment Committee meetings. There is a full schedule that is available through our legislative aid, and I believe it's going to be posted online as well. I want to mention also that we met tonight and we interviewed candidates for the Board of Assessment Review, and we made a selection that we will be putting forth at the next full council meeting. Thank you very much.
Mr. Shea. Ms. Pliers.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to remind colleagues and also the public that we have a public safety meeting scheduled for October 9th at 5:30 here at City Hall in relation to the police-involved shooting with Mr. Elazar Williams. The chief has been invited to that meeting and has confirmed, and he will be there to speak about the report that was put out by the department. In addition, Dr. Alice Green has been invited to speak as she had a press conference in response to the police department's report. Both will be there. Both will be providing comments, and then there will be a public comment period as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pliers. Any other? Ms. Fahey.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Planning and Economic Development Committee met this past Wednesday, the 26th, and to discuss the resolution concerning the plans for the city to purchase their streetlights from our utility, National Grid. This was, for those of you who stayed, it's a pretty amazing effort that the city has gone through to make this happen. We're not going to be voting on the purchase agreement tonight. There's a few outstanding questions, but I think it's important for everyone to know that this is going to be a tremendous benefit to the city and environmentally, but also there's going to be a very large financial benefit as well. So we will be meeting again to take a vote and move the resolution out of committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fahey. Any other reports? Any committees? Seeing none, we'll move on to ordinance introduced. Mr. Anani.
Thank you, Mr. President. I noticed ordinance number 34-101.18, and I ask for its introduction.
Thank you. Can the clerk please read the ordinance?
Ordinance amending chapter 359, Code of the City of Albany, Special Event Park.
Mr. DeConti?
Thank you, Mr. President. That will be referred to the Law Committee.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hoey?
Thank you, Mr. President. I notice ordinance 35.101.18 and ask for its introduction.
Can the clerk please read the ordinance?
Ordinance amending section 10, article 1, chapter 375, Code of the City of Albany, in relation to the removal of trees and shrubs from private property.
Mr. Conti?
Thank you, Mr. President. That is referred to the General Services Committee, and the remaining ordinances on tonight's agenda are held.
Thank you, Mr. Conti. Moving on to introduction of resolutions. Mr. O'Brien?
Thank you. I notice resolution 78.101.18R, and I ask for its passage.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Can the clerk please read the resolution?
Resolution approving amendment to the finance agreement by an amount of Park Albany Water Board, City of Albany, Albany Municipal Water Finance Authority related to the certain project and authorizing execution of delivery of certain documents by the board in connection with the issuance of obligation by the Albany Municipal Water Finance Authority.
Is there any discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, can the clerk please call the roll?
Yes. Co-sponsor.
Yes.
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 Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Yes. Johnson? Yes. Kimbrough? Yes. Ms. Love? Yes. Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Mr. Anani?
Thank you, Mr. President. I notice ordinance 2022.10118R and ask for its introduction.
Can the clerk please read the resolution?
The resolution calls on the New York State Legislature to pass legislation that lowers the tax redemption period for abandoned buildings from 2 years to 1 year.
Mr. Conti?
Thank you, Mr. President. That resolution is held, and, Mr. President, I ask make a motion requesting majority consent to add Resolution 80.101.18R to tonight's agenda.
Is there a second on the? All those in favor?
Aye.
Resolution added. Mr. Conti?
Thank you, Mr. President. I now offer Resolution 80.101.18R. Request passage and roll call vote thereon.
Can the clerk please read the resolution? Discussion on the resolution.
That actually can be a voice vote.
Pardon me?
That actually can be a voice vote,
Okay.
if you'd like.
I know I'm going to do voice vote. I said any discussion on the resolution. Seeing none?
I had a question.
Mike?
If it's a voice vote, if we want to co-sponsor it, how do we indicate that? You're going to do it individually, voice vote? Okay.
Yeah, co-sponsor, please.
You see the co-sponsor? Goodness. Okay, can the clerk please call the roll? Can the clerk please call the roll?
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
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 Yes, co-sponsor.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Resolution passes. Resolution's held. Mr.
Thank you,
Conti.
Mr. President. The remaining resolutions on tonight's agenda are held.
Is there any miscellaneous unfinished business? Seeing none.
Mr.
Conti?
Councilmember Joe.
Ms. Love? Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Love. Seeing none, Mr. Conti?
Mr. President, make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.